I would like to begin this part of our class today with answering the question you raised in your comment, Shahrina.
Yeah, I was just noticing,
Yeah.
Similarities between the two thinkers. Because in our class with Dr. Ibrahim Bor, we're talking about Malay Jaziri and then the three key concepts. And I thought, this sounds really similar, except the different takes. Where in Malay Jaziri, God is, love, beauty, and what's the other one?
Light.
Yeah, light. Yeah, whereas with Said Nursi, God is reflected and manifested in these things, right? It's like, I mean, that's my take on it. That it seems more indirect. It seems to be key concept, but it's not. He sees things in his surroundings rather than addressing God directly. Like, it's a lot of at least the works we were reading. It's a lot of the Sufi Khamriyat kind of poetry, talking about the beloved and the light, ecstasy, things like that. I'm not sure whether I'm on the right track with that.
No, it's a good question. It opens up actually a very specific aspect of Said Nursi. So I'm glad you raised it. Let me offer some remarks in this direction. Malay Jaziri is a poet who wrote Sufi love poetry, if you will. It is within the recognizably Sufi universe of vocabulary, concepts, imagination, and so on. So for Sufis, love is a centerpiece. It defines everything. It defines our relationship to God. It defines universes, kind of what holds the universe together is basically love. Okay, they are like hippies of Muslim history. So Sufis, they see only this positive thing. And what is the object of love? What is the beloved? Beloved is God, basically. You go to God through everything, or beyond everything you see God. So unity in the world, in existence, is achieved by mystics, Sufis, through the idea of God as the true essence behind everything. Correct? So when you see beauty, you think, what's the source of beauty? What is the enduring beauty? What is the permanent form of beauty? That which lasts, that which is not transient. Then that's God. So the idea of God and beloved become one. So love is very central to Sufi imagination. When it comes to Said Nursi has a lot of overlap with Sufism, but not on the question of love. No. In terms of divine names as a lens through which to perceive universe, they overlap. In terms of which divine name is central, Said Nursi is different. Sufis usually do not want to engage with too much contemplation and thinking in the abstract manner that resembles like kalam or philosophy. I mean, Sufism is some kind of applied philosophy, if you will. In Ibn Arabi, you see a philosopher and a Sufi. When you see an average Sufi is a practitioner of a theory which he doesn't have to think much about it. He's just practicing it. You do your dhikr, you devote yourself, you practice. You don't need to think about it. So they are like artists who are so much absorbed by the work they are doing, like craftsmen doing their crafts. And so their relationship is an attitude towards the world which is characterized by love. If we are to pick a name for Sufism, that will be Wadud, Ismi Wadud, right? God, love is our relationship to God, and God is love, and so on. You see why Sufism overlaps with Christianity, because Christianity has taken love as a centerpiece as well. If you go to more jurisprudential type of religiosity, Sufism appears like too, unbounded. It's loose. It's not tight. It's not following the rules strictly because of its openness and accepting, and it's not ascetic the way a jurisprudential approach would want. Now, while Sufism is a very cozy, very accepting approach within Islam, it's an important strand. Said Nursi, who came from a place where Sufism was very dominant, he believed that Sufism is not going to be good in the future. It's not going to be enough. He might be wrong in this perception, but he thought that we are in a full force progress in the modern age. Reason, rationality is going to become the dominant way. So you have to justify what you are doing. You have to offer logical, intellectual explanations as to why we believe what we do. And in that regard, we need reason, and we need science, for example. So science becomes important for science because it's how you decipher the universe, how you understand the way things operate. Behind it, you find God, but to understand science, you need to use reason. An average Sufi doesn't need reason. As a matter of fact, Sufism is a form of intoxication. You want to experience istighraq. You want to drown in experience, in feeling. So you are like in a dream relationship with the world. So science and the kind of attitude of abstraction and distance isn't working with that approach. So Said Nursi wants to bring the world and causality into Muslim imagination. Sufism says, ignore the world, everything is transient, just love, think of beloved, and then they end up looking like homeless people, they look like hippies and so on. But the world is a more serious place. We have issues, we have economy, we have politics, we have science and technology. How are Muslims going to move forward? So Said Nursi wants to incorporate both reason and some of that love, but not under the name of love. Something superior to love he identifies, and he calls it compassion. Shafqat. Compassion, he says, is superior to love. Why? Because love is always selfish and it expects something in return. Okay? So, human love, for example, people who love each other, they want the love of the other person. You expect something in return. There is some kind of expectation attached to it. It's selfish. Whereas compassion, as embodied in a mother's love for her children, is pure, absolutely pure. It is a more pure form of relationship than love. And compassion, you are just giving, you are not expecting something in return. And therefore, he thought for Nurjus, that is to say, people who are following Said Nursi's path, style of thinking and life, the two guiding principles are shafqat and tafakkur, compassion and contemplation. Whereas for Sufis, they want love, and really love needs nothing else, and love has pleasure in it. Nurju has a different type of pleasure, has an intellectual pleasure of looking at the nature and so on. Sufis have a more almost somatic, bodily, spiritual pleasure. It's sexual pleasure is a good metaphor for this. It's really not that different from it. And in the past, as you know, in Islam, sexuality was not something criminal thing. So that's one important thing. Another dimension is this: lover ultimately wants to unite with the beloved. You love something from distance, next you want to touch it, next you want to kiss, next you want to melt in the other. This is very clearly, shaping, this is what we see in Sufism. Sufism, if you read the Sufi poetry, which I truly enjoy, people like, for example, Yunus Emre, Rumi, Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, and many others. This, talking about wine and intoxication, love. It is not just they say, two types of love. There is a majazi and hakiki. Majazi is metaphorical love, and hakiki is the real love. So the hakiki, true love is God, divine love. And then there is metaphorical love, which is the worldly love. Oftentimes they talk about, some Layla, some, worldly object of beauty, but what they really mean is God, people would say. And when they talk about wine, what they mean is that devotion and so on. In love, you transcend, you leave behind reason. Okay? You must have heard the phrase, in Turkish they say, aşkın gözü kördür. The eyes of the love are blind. Love is blind. Very easy to see, because it's not rational. Okay? So people say, you love this person, how come, but for the lover, that person is just super. It's totally different way of perceiving the world. Therefore, love is against the world of causality. Love goes against the world of science and thinking. Therefore, love is really a private affair. It's not a public affair. Okay? So, in love, you want to jump over the world. You want to ignore, and you want to abridge, and you want to delete the world between you and the end point, which is beloved. Therefore, Sufis, what do they want? They want to die before death, right? They want to die now, because how do they perceive death? When you look at Rumi calls the day of death, his death is called the day of first night with the beloved. Basically, you reach your object of love, and the making love is the end of the purpose, and it is what you are kind of rushing towards. In rushing towards your death, embracing death as a way of reaching object of love, you are really ignoring the world. So Sufis would ignore the world. So they won't own property. They won't care about, what is the population of fear or knowledge of fear. All the technical stuff they are not interested in. So it's a good therapeutical path. But Said Nursi believed that in modern age we need reason and rationality for Muslims, and therefore it will no longer be enough. Today in postmodern age, it turns out, Said Nursi was a little wrong. People love Sufism and such therapeutic stuff. People want to run away from too much knowledge, too much thinking. They want to unthink. They want to meditate and do yoga and do Buddhism and do Sufism. But Said Nursi thought otherwise. They thought people will be questioning and thinking, and as they think, they will find the truth, and the Islam is truth, and truthful form of Islam is when Islam is addressing both the heart and the mind together. The true combination of the two is key to proper human spirit's kind of deployment in the world. And therefore, for that reason, Said Nursi believed compassion is the right thing, not love. And contemplation, reflection is the other element. The two should be together. As a result, Sufis have excesses, meaning aşırılık, ifrat, things that are excessive. For example, they kind of play with idea of God. They talk about essence. They talk about Zat, the person of God. And in Said Nursi, you never reach the person of God. You are always behind the screen of Asma'ul Husna. So Nurju would ultimately, they trace divine to Asma'ul Husna and not to the Zat of God. Sufis are unashamedly, because they lack any morality. Remember, they are, when you are in love, you will run around naked. And a lot of Sufis are naked, keep in mind. They are homeless, they don't care about the world, they are in love. Okay? It's very, aesthetic, beautiful. You can think of it as very unselfish in many ways, but they ignore the morality. They often talks, for those of you who's Turkish, they would speak of namus şişesini kırmak. Okay? Yeah, Şebi Arus, thank you, Fahrettin. Şebi Arus is the night of, first night in marriage, basically, when you are united with your beloved. And people like Yunus Emre and many others, they talk about breaking the glass of namus is a Greek word, nomos, that entered Arabic, and it means law, rules. Okay, so you break the law, you ignore the law. Is this right or wrong? Is it halal or haram? It becomes irrelevant. Against love, there is no resistance. Love transcends all sharias, all rules, or moral kind of communal codes. You can't do this, you can't marry this person, you can't do that. When you are in love, everything else melts down. Therefore, Sufis, some of them are naked, literally, as in example of kind of Kurdish Persian poet. What is his name? Baba Tahir-i Üryan. Baba Tahir-i Üryan. Beautiful poet. Let me type it. Üryan means naked. Sufis don't put on word, because we put on ourselves the word, like in the form of clothes, in the form of property, titles, pretensions. You peel them all. So Baba Tahir, I have his book, and it's beautiful, romantically, aesthetically. Yunus Emre, similarly, he talks about kind of lowering or taking off the worldly clothes and so on, because they are all gestures of love making, basically, gestures of leaving behind the world and jumping to the kind of intimacy of beloved. In this, Sufism is negligent, to say the least, negligent of the world. So they don't really care much about social issues, political issues. They can be under Mongol conquest, and they say, yeah, sure, we can work with you. And under democracy, it doesn't matter for them what is happening in the world. What matters is, they're in love, and, they're good. So this is a little, from strictly, I would say, mainstream Islamic point of view, Sufism is a little less responsible towards the world. Although it is good-hearted, very emotional, and really good, and I mean it, but it is negligent of social justice, issues of broader world. Yes?
Sufism seems more innocent.
Yes, because it goes back to childhood. Exactly. It refuses to participate in public life. It falls back to childhood. That's why, children can run around naked. They do that. And children have this joy on them. joy of life, Sufis achieve that. True joy of life. But that is, that innocence, therefore makes them also irresponsible. That's why, irresponsible basically means namus şişesini kırmak, to break the glass of honor. You don't have honor. You don't have dignity. There is nothing you need to carry, because you are just, you go into imminence. As opposed to human being rising above nature and trying to hold something, Sufism wants to melt into nature, melt back into nature. Therefore, in Sufism there is this desire to become earth again, to go back. For example, there's a beautiful poem by Yunus Emre that I love. It says, Kuru idik, yaş olduk. Ağaç idik, baş olduk. Havalandık, kuş olduk, uçtuk elhamdülillah. He says, we were dry, we became wet. We were tree, we became head. And then we took flight, we became bird. We fled, alhamdulillah. So there is an evolutionary idea. So your first earth, inanimate thing, you become wet, moisture, life, beginnings of life. Then you become tree, then you gain mobility, you're an animal. So you have a head, you think, and then you make dua and you think and you love. Through love, you gain access to the universal, back to the source, divine love, and then spirit takes off from this world. So you leave behind all the shells. So it's a beautiful stuff, okay? And also they always pass through things, you are in a journey, okay? So Sufism is a type of... I should also say, of course, Sufism is not an exclusively Muslim thing, okay? Sufis are no different from Christian mystics and no different from Jewish mystics, and they got it from Indians and whatnot, okay, from the East. So this mysticism shares a lot. It enters Islam at some point in history as a technology of self-healing and, feeling good, very much like Westerners today adopting Buddhism and, meditation, yoga, things like this. It's similar thing. In Islam, then it became Islamized, and it's a beautiful tradition in Islam. But Said Nursi thought, there is a limit to what it can achieve. As part of his reform, he said we need heart and mind. We have become all heart right now, and that's not enough. So bringing mind back was his project. As a result, we can say Said Nursi overlaps with Sufism in significant ways, but in some key areas he diverges, because he goes for shafqat, compassion, as opposed to love. And Nurjus are more, let me put it this way, they behave less recklessly compared to Sufis, because Sufis, they just love God, they want to go and hug God. They want to have ru'yat, they want to see the face of the beloved, okay, at no time. Nurjus never want to see the face of beloved, they want to see the beauty through the filters of Asma'ul Husna and through reflection and contemplative. So Nurjis are, in the tradition of Kalam and philosophy, deeply spiritual and religious, whereas Sufis are not in such abstract philosophizing thinking, thinking about causes. They don't need reason. As a matter of fact, they try to get rid of reason. The more you become a tool, you become vessel of divine love. Gassal elinde meyyit, like ghusl, ghusl, when the person who washes the dead body, to be dead body at the hands of the person who washes the dead body, meaning you don't move when you are dead, right? So the murid who sacrifices his irade, the word murid comes from that, iradesini terk eden kişiye mürid denilir. He becomes like a inanimate, totally surrendering object to Sheikh, to the master. So that's why, murids, cults, tariqas are like this. Sheikh says something, they do it. They believe Sheikh is Superman. If you don't believe that way, you can't be murid. So here's what this technology did. Technology works like this. They say, first you have to love your sheikh. And to love is always in superlative form. You can't just love somebody, say, oh yeah, no, she's great or he's great, that's enough. No. You have to say the most beautiful person, the most perfect, the excellent person. So sheikh has to be in the highest ranking. So every cult or tariqah, they see their sheikh as the best in the world, the highest, the governor of the universe, and things like this. And sheikh has to secure such a surrender and devotion in order to then transfer that devotion to the love of Prophet. So this is called fana fi sheikh. You melt yourself for the sake of sheikh, in love of sheikh, and then sheikh transfers this to love of Prophet, fana fi rasul, meaning now you love Prophet Muhammad. So Sufism elevated the status of Prophet Muhammad from a prophet, a messenger, to the level of a beloved of God. Okay, because the relationship between God and Prophet even couldn't stay a rational relationship. Okay, I have a message, deliver it to humanity, right? That's what Prophet is, messenger. But in Sufism, no. In Sufism, Prophet Muhammad is lover of God. God loves Muhammad, and Muhammad represents entire humanity. He's the tip, the pinnacle of humanity. Under it, other prophets. Under it, others, and then it goes down like that. So Sheikh connects them to Prophet connects them to God. Ultimately, everybody wants to reach God, and through a relationship of love. So that's the way it works.